Is the iPhone 13 still worth buying in 2024? Let's find out. Hey everyone, I'm Pratima and one of my team members has been using the iPhone 13 since its launch in 2021. But does it still make sense to buy it right now? If you don't know, the iPhone 13 has the highest number of reviews on both Amazon and Flipkart, and it was also the highest selling iPhone last year. And coming to 2024, this thing is going to get even more cheap. Currently, it's available for around 50,000 rupees in India or some $600 in the US. And during the festive sales, it gets discounted by usually 10 to 15% as well. Alright, first things first, let's take a look at this design. And it is still a very good looking phone even in 2024. The thing with Apple is that every year they make very subtle changes to their designs, which in iPhone 13's case is a blessing because it basically looks similar to the newer iPhone 14 and the iPhone 15. The only difference is the color options and the matte finish on the iPhone 15 versus the glossy one on the 13, but other than that, it's practically the same. In fact, if you cover it up with a good case, no one's even going to know. Also, if you're someone who likes using small devices like me, its size and weight distribution are something that you are going to appreciate a lot. In fact, it is more snuggly than something like the newly launched Galaxy S23 FE from Samsung that you get for more or less a similar price. For durability, you're getting ceramic shield protection on both sides of the iPhone 13 and aluminium frames in between, which, as you can see, have held quite well over the years. My team member had been using it without a cover, so after like 2 years, there are only a few visible scratches and small dents, but nothing major has happened to it, so durability-wise, it is definitely a thumbs up for me. On the front too, you get an excellent quality screen with support for HDR and Dolby Vision. It is also sufficiently bright indoors as well as outdoors with 1200 nits of peak brightness, which is decent enough, I would say. In comparison, the new iPhone 15 is slightly brighter, yes, but visibility is not an issue on this one either, so no complaints from me on that side. The only thing that has tasted a little sour to me is the 60Hz refresh rate. I test a lot of phones, and these days even budget ones come with either 90Hz refresh rate or more. So when I switched from some of those phones to this one, this screen here felt a little, not as smooth. I by no means mean that the iPhone 13 feels slow or anything, but it just does not feel as effortless as the 120Hz display. Now, if you're using the iPhone 11 or older models, or if you have been using a mid-range Android phone with 60Hz refresh rate, you are not going to feel that way. But if you come from a 120Hz refresh rate screen, you will definitely notice. However, I don't know if I should complain about it because even the latest and more expensive iPhone 15 comes with a 60Hz screen in 2024. Anyway, you have to know that you also don't get dynamic island here. Instead, you get this plain old ugly notch which looks slightly outdated. The speakers here are good though. They are loud and they sound very balanced. I also did compare it with the iPhone 15 and found that it is slightly richer in terms of output, but the difference here is very marginal. Even in terms of haptics, the iPhone 13 can give a good competition to all the other devices that come for a similar price or more. So I am quite happy about the overall user experience. Likewise, when it comes to cameras, I have some good news here too. Despite its age, the iPhone 13 is very close to what the newer iPhone 15 produces. Just check out these samples I took. These are the kind of photos that you can expect with the iPhone 13. They are sharp, they're crisp, and the color rendition here is amazing. I did notice it takes slightly punchier photos than the iPhone 15, but it's not overwhelming in any way. I also compared its cameras with the Galaxy S23 FE, Samsung's latest phone that is priced similarly to the iPhone 13, and it has held up quite well against it too. Yeah, the color reproduction on the iPhone 13 is slightly poppier than the S23 FE, but I think it actually works in its favor. I am especially impressed with the contrast that it can produce. It just gives a very definitive character to the images. I even like the portraits from the iPhone 13. In terms of skin tone and colors, it surprisingly beats the iPhone 15 and even the S23 FE for that matter. The only downside is that unlike the iPhone 15 and the S23 FE, you cannot take 2x or 3x portraits with it, but if you don't mind that, the skin tone and overall contrast are better on the iPhone 13. The videography side of things is also another plus point for this 2-year-old iPhone 13. You can take some very smooth 4K 60 FPS footages from the rear as well as the selfie camera. Now, if I really have to nitpick, glare control and dynamic range are handled better by the latest iPhone 15, but regular videos are just as crisp and rich in details from the iPhone 13, so this could very well be the vlogging camera that you are looking for in the 50,000 price bracket. The performance side of things is also handled very well by the iPhone 13 even to this date. It ships with Apple's A15 Bionic chipset, which is still a powerful option for its price. So everyday tasks are just a piece of cake for this phone, and you can even play the most demanding games on it without the phone breaking a single drop of sweat. You can see the FPS numbers on the screen, and they are surely impressive, especially if you compare it with a generation older iPhone 14 and even the latest iPhone 15. But I do have to tell you that a lot of other reviewers have found the screen dimming issue on the iPhone 13 to be quite annoying. So what happens is, if the phone gets very hot, the phone lowers its brightness of the screen and throttles the performance. We have not faced this issue yet, but if you live in warmer places or if you are a very demanding user, this could be an issue for you. Besides, this update is something that Apple is especially good with, and the iPhone 13 will receive updates up to 2027, which is still 3 years away. So that, mixed with the reliable performance of the A15 Bionic, means that this device will run smoothly for many years to come. Now, while the other aspects of the iPhone 13 seem very well put together, battery life is something that might not be up to the mark for heavy users. I don't mean that it cannot last you long. In fact, it can give you around 5 hours of screen on time easily on normal usage. But if you use the cameras for a longer time, or if you are a heavy gamer, this kind of endurance might not be sufficient for you. And the fact that it only comes with a 20-watt charging support does not help the cause either, because this device takes a little more than 1 hour and 20 minutes to fully juice up. Okay, next up, I would also like to add a few other things that might be of importance to many people, like eSIM support. So unlike the iPhone 15, the iPhone 13 only supports 2 eSIMs apart from your physical SIM. So if you're someone who travels a lot and uses more SIM cards at once, this might be a slight issue for you. And because this is an older phone, it does not support the latest Bluetooth 5.3 as well. It only supports Bluetooth 5.0, which means connectivity with Bluetooth devices with the iPhone 13 will not be as good as with other newer devices. Plus, with newer 5G modems, the iPhone 15 also supports faster 5G connectivity than the good old iPhone 13. Not that the iPhone 13's 5G speed is slow or anything, but once your carrier improves its 5G technology in the future, you might see the iPhone 13 lagging. Okay, last but not the least, repair cost. Unfortunately, the repair cost for the iPhone 13's back glass is higher than the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 15. This is because most of its components are attached to the back glass, which makes repairing the iPhone 13 a bit more tedious than the others. But despite these shortcomings, for me, the iPhone 13 is still a good value for money option in 2024. No-nonsense phones that delivers on every front, whether it's the design, the core display, cameras, performance, and most importantly, the software experience. Of course, you can get faster performance and bigger and smoother display with phones like the iQOO 12, the OnePlus 11, or the Galaxy S23 FE for that matter, but none of these devices still produce that same reliable experience as the iPhone 13, especially in terms of software and cameras. And that's why this thing is still the king. Alright everybody, that was all for this video. If you did find this video useful, do give it a thumbs up, and while you're there, do subscribe to our channel as well. Saying this, I'm Pratima Adhikari, and I will see you in my next video.